Okay, it's a little bit late in the evening here in St. Kitts. Wanted to go over some stuff with you, some unusual tax consequences that I think you really should know about this. It's just so different in the U.S. and the tax laws that are here, and I wanted to go over some of the things that just really take a lot of heavy weight off of you that I don't think you've heard of before. The weather here is so nice today too. This is like the 30th of December. It's just incredibly nice and dry and just beautiful weather. This is really the time of year when it's cold in the U.S. If you're living in most places in the U.S., you're probably in a cold area. But it's so nice today. It's like maybe 79 or 78 outside degrees, and nice and dry, nice cool breeze. It's just perfect. You can swim all year round here. Okay, let me go over some of the things with you that I think you'd be interested in knowing. Is the delay in property tax. One thing that really kind of got to me when I first moved to St. Kitts, when I got a property, is it took me about 2 or 3 years, and all of a sudden I noticed I wasn't getting a property tax notice. And I said, this is unusual. Usually in the U.S., you know, they're a stickler on property taxes. In other words, as soon as you buy the property, you're going to get a notice, you know, coming up once you've had that property, depending on what state you're in, after a year or whatever. And St. Kitts is different. I went maybe 2 or 3 years, did not get a property tax notice, finally called the property tax division, and they said that they were behind on registering properties. I said, oh gosh, so I'm going to have this big payment coming up in interest. They said, actually not. You won't even know the payment until we get caught up. So in other words, they gave me about 2 or 3 years that was free property tax, and they didn't go back and collect the difference because it was their fault. I mean, they were just behind on registering the properties. Now, that's one advantage about being in a place where everything's kind of slow and laid back. Okay, it can really benefit you in something like that. But let me tell you something else that I really like. This really unusual that you won't see probably any place else in the world, and that is if you own a bunch of properties in the U.S. Let's say you die, and you just die all of a sudden, and maybe you're not married, but you have kids, and all of a sudden your kids really don't even know where all your properties are located, and you could be estranged to your children where they don't even hardly know you, but they're going to be the beneficiary of your estate. The problem you've got is you might have properties that if you die, or let's say you get sick or something and you can't pay the property tax, what's going to happen is those interest and penalties are going to build up depending on what state you're in the U.S. And if you don't pay it, eventually the government's going to come in and they're going to seize the property. Okay, and at that time it's too late for somebody to even come in and try to pay it off because they've sold the property. Okay, St. Kitts is different. You could come here to St. Kitts and literally go 30 years out, okay, and not pay your property tax. I'm not saying you should do this. I'm just telling you the differences between the U.S. and St. Kitts. St. Kitts is a lot laid back on this stuff. They're not a stickler on tax issues. To give an example, if you didn't pay your property taxes for 30 years and then you walked in one day, or your children find out you got all these properties, no one would have seized your property. It's still there, still standing there. No one's going to touch it. But the interest will build up. But they're not going to seize the property at auction. Okay. In other words, what's going to happen is they'll have to come in and pay the interest and penalties or whatever, and what's owed on the property, you know, and keep it up to date. But that could go out years and years and years. You're not going to have some sort of government coming in and seizing the property. And the property taxes in St. Kitts are very low. It's like 0.20%, whatever you're purchasing with a $29,600 US exclusion. You're looking at 12 times less than the property tax you would pay, let's say, for instance, in a place like New Jersey. That's the difference. I mean, it's just incredible the difference that you'd end up paying. Now, their properties downtown, I can tell you, the next door neighbors don't even know who owns them, because they're people overseas, maybe that inherited the property, and they just never came to see the property, and then they died off, and they never paid the property tax. Okay, this happens a lot, but it's real nice to know that you're not going to have the government come in and seizing your property because you don't pay the property tax. This is one thing I really, really do like about St. Kitts. Sure, there's money, there's taxes down here, but they just do things a lot different, and I really like their system here a lot better. And they can go out 20 or 30 or 40 years and still have no income tax, no capital gains tax, no estate tax, no inheritance tax, and still make it very, very nice in the country. That's what's kind of unusual, is they can actually get by with not getting those property taxes when people don't pay on time, and still be able to make it and not have the income tax, the capital gains tax, the estate inheritance tax. One other thing too that's really unusual is that the government, they don't, we've got an unincorporated business tax here that's 4% on businesses. It's not an income tax, it's a business tax. But you don't even have to pay that unless you have a local company. So if you have an offshore company, the only thing you would pay for is that offshore corporate fee, which might be $450 a year or whatever. That's all you would pay. They don't tax income on companies that are outside the country. Only on local companies, and local companies are only taxed at 4%. And then you get a deduction off that per quarter. There's only a filing once a quarter that you actually file for that local corporation. That's how that would work. Also, folks, if you want to legally get your income taxes to zero, how to get a second passport as quick as 45 days, do 3 things. Hit the subscribe button at the right of your screen. You'll get new videos automatically as they come out. Number 2 is I would like to hear from you. If you got a question or comment, put it below. And if you got a question, go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and just ask for some help. Okay, so, the taxes here are just incredibly low, but the way they even enforce property taxes, it's a very laid back type thing. And this is one thing I really like about this, is the way they've got this system here. One other thing too is, if you're coming down here, some things that will kind of blow your mind is insurance costs down here, extremely low. Health insurance is just many times less than what you'd pay in the U.S. But I'll be honest with you, it's so cheap down here, and the health cost is so cheap too. I just got a root canal, by the way. The whole cost is going to cost me a little over $1,000 US. If you look at root canals in the U.S., you're going to pay a lot more than that. Okay, that's everything. That's the crown, the whole bit, the work, the whole kit caboodle, everything together. Your dental appointments, if you're 60 and above, it's going to run you about, it's going to be zero if you're a citizen. If you go to the government dental clinics, if you go to, they don't cover root canals and stuff like that though. You'd have to get that on a private clinic. But if you go to the hospital, all your medical costs, just about everything is free. If you're 62 and above, that would be picked up, but you have to be a citizen again. That's the advantage of getting citizenship in St. Kitts. But for instance, auto insurance down here, mine costs me a little over $100 US a year for auto insurance. That's incredible. And I'm almost 70 years old. Usually that's when insurance goes way up, is when you get older and when you're younger, because your chances of having an accident is a lot higher. But that's very inexpensive. Also, I would advise you too, if you come into St. Kitts, don't bring in luxury cars, because it's going to cost you through the butt, because there's no income tax, but they hit you on duty, which can be really high. You can look at my other videos on that. Now, some things that I would be looking at too is when you come to St. Kitts, is I would be getting cars that are not real spiffed up. Don't get sports cars and things like this. Your insurance will be a lot less than it would be in the U.S. because you don't have contingency lawsuits like you do in the U.S. But you're going to pay a lot in duty when you bring that car in. Okay, you're better off going to places like JapaneseVehicles.com, which is out of Japan, and have it shipped in. That's the best way to do it. Don't try to ship in your own car coming in. That's real important for you to know there. Also, when you set up, if you're gonna, I tell people that they're looking to, if you're looking for efficient ways to do offshore businesses and stuff, and I've told this to people many, many times, don't go to Dubai. It's not the way to do it. And if you're looking for a large local market where you can avoid the income tax, and most of all your business is coming from local market, fine. But if you're dealing with an international market, I'm telling you, you're going to be making a big mistake. You're going to pay out of your butt. It's a lot cheaper to come to St. Kitts and just have an offshore corporation, pay very little just for the offshore corporation, and there's no income tax. That's the great thing about it. No business tax, nothing. Okay, if you know which place to go, that's the key right there. Where to incorporate, that's the key right there. And then you being in a place that doesn't have a local income tax or tax outside the country. Those are the key factors you need to look at. Now, the only thing you've got, if you got a local corporation, St. Kitts, is a quarterly tax that you file each year, and it's only 4% of gross. It takes you about 30. You can literally fill that out in 30 seconds to a minute. That's how quick it takes you to fill it out. It's like it's one page, but it's only one small part of the page at the bottom. Most of the page is taken up with your name and address, and the rest is just like 3 lines you fill out. It's almost nothing. So, these are some things that I would be looking at. If you're looking to set up a company, if you're looking to, if you want to buy properties and stuff, remember there's no income tax on property on rental income down here. As far as St. Kitts goes. And remember, everything I'm telling you is based on you not being a U.S. citizen, because you're taxed on your worldwide income if you're a U.S. citizen or a U.S. resident with a green card, or if you break the substantial presence test, you're still taxed on your worldwide income at that point. You're going to have to break those ties, okay? And then if you get residency in St. Kitts, this will be your residency, and you're taxed on their tax laws at this point once you break those other 3 ties to the U.S. Or if you're from a high tax country like Brazil, places like China that taxes worldwide income, Australia, Germany, these are places that you have to break those residency ties to break that tax tie to that country. So these are some things that you need to be looking at and trying to accomplish when you go outside the country. Now, I'll tell you, I like St. Kitts better than I do the Cayman Islands and British Virgin Islands. I've mentioned this before. It's a lot cheaper to live here. If you look across the board, the fees and taxes are lower here. Sure, Cayman Islands does not have a corporate income tax. St. Kitts does, but you don't have to have a corporation here. You can have an unincorporated business. And the Caymans has very high fees. It's very expensive to live there, a lot higher to live there. Everything you buy there is a lot higher. I mean, I was there the last time, maybe 20 years ago, and God, the fees, the cost for a box of cereal was just incredible. How high everything was there, and it's just a very expensive place to live. Kind of like St. Bart's. It's the same way in St. Bart's. Anyway, folks, if you want to learn more on this, again, go to our website www.citizenshipquickly.com and just ask for some help. And I'll look forward to talking to you on the next video. Take care.